we went from, and I'm going to put it here on the side, line. And with line, we had vertical, horizontal, diagonal, and curve. When we bring them to shape, well, this can give us a ton of shapes, but the obvious one would be the rectangle. This horizontal one gives us the square. The diagonal gives us the triangle. And I'm going to let you guess what this one gives us. I know you know. The circle. So I always want you to, no matter what, think in this way. Simplifying. If you simplify your way of thinking, it makes it easier, no matter what you're doing. Always remember, what you're doing is in lines, and with these lines, you're creating these variation of shapes. That's how simple it is. Now, I'm going to move forward 1 second just to show this train of thought, but we're going to stick with shapes for a second. From here, the only way to go is form. So, I could vary this. Notice that it's not a circle now, it's an ellipse, but I added a little curve with 2 verticals and another curve at the bottom. And you recognize that form. Am I right? And it's one of those absolute basic forms. For this, I could do it this way, but I'm going to show you one easy way, where with this square and just diagonal lines, so it's a combination, and verticals, another horizontal, and another diagonal, we go from a square to a cube. I combine diagonals, and I'm just going to add a curved line at the bottom. And you recognize that as a cone. It could also be a pyramid. And then this one, our essential, most basic form. The circle, I have to give you a little bit of an illusion here, and that's what we're doing, which is sort of a semicircular. Think of it as an equator and a meridian. And you have a sphere, a ball. This is it. Lines that create shapes, shapes that become forms. All of these were done with these lines. Here we combined horizontals and verticals, diagonals and horizontals, curve with curve. Now we're adding curves, verticals, diagonals, horizontals, diagonals and curves, and here's just curves. And the level of curvature of those curved lines is going to enhance, and it's just, we're talking about the infinity of forms in nature. All of them always going right back to here. It's just variations and combinations of them. The last thing that you would take it from here, which would be once we consider, and the focus today is this, but if you wanted to take this a little further, you would add the element of, and it's also just lines, but you would add the element of light. And then the illusion is complete. Once we add the element of light, we actually place it in space, which is really interesting, because now I know if this thing is on a table, And again, I'm just adding a saturation of lines that become lighter with a couple of lines. And notice that I'm going to leave them just with space in them to create that form. But the thing I wanted to show you here is with this one, I'm just going to add lines to create light and shadow. I want to play a little bit with value too, which is another. And as we move forward with the elements of art, you go from line to shape to form to light, value. Value and light, pretty much what I'm doing here is shifting the values to create the illusion of light. But notice what I'm going to do here with this ball. It's just by adding another little circle down here and putting light lines through it, it's actually now floating up in its space. So not to confuse you too much, these are the strategies that you follow. These are the basic elements: line, shape, form. So keep that in mind all the way through. And now we are going to move to shapes. So the exercise with shapes that I had planned for you today, just to revisit, I hope you followed, and this would be a great chart for you to have and always refer back to, and then maybe expand with your own thoughts like, what if I were to shift and maybe mix even more variations, and this is how you would create your own shapes from variations of this. So go back to my 2B pencil, and I'm going to pick my first shape. Once again, just cannot repeat it enough. You need to practice this grip. This is the key. If you're holding your pencil any other way, but it's just so uncomfortable. I'm gonna hold it like I'm writing, but back here, maybe it helps, and you could do but I really want you to. You can do this. There's exercises that I bring up all the time where if you're right-handed and you brush your teeth left-handed, it feels, and you can hurt yourself really, unless you slowly do it once, twice. By the third time, okay, I got this. And then a week later, you brush your teeth you're left-handed basically, or opening a door with keys. So it's these things that we never did that eventually we start doing, and then we get so used to it we don't think about it. This has to happen. You have to get yourself there. So you've never done this. Think of it that way. You used to hold it like this at some point when you were 10 months old, a year old, 2 years old, until somebody told you, no, wait, do it like this. And nobody ever told you do it like this to draw. They told you do it like this because that's how you write the letter A, B, blah, blah, blah. So this is the one you have to get you used to. So for this exercise mostly, obviously the one with the lines, here with shapes, we're going to begin this entire page. I want to fill this entire page, and I'm going to kind of time this one. Maybe you can play with the variation of pencils, but what I want you to do is this. I want you to just feel the range of motion in your arm. So I'm really just immediately feeling my shoulder. But just by moving, you can already tell, without me touching the pencil to the paper, you can see the size and the shape of what I'm about to draw. And I could go faster. I could go slower. And this is called ghosting it. So I'm kind of ghosting it. And then when I see it and I feel it, then I touch the pencil to the paper. Now I know I'm making it too light because my pressure. So I might shift just for this exercise. Continue with pencil. I'm going to shift to the color pencil so you could see it. So you could see what I'm doing. So, yeah, let's do color pencil. Or, I'm just going to switch to a 6B. Same grip. And a circle. Variations of size. But what I want you to get used to is ghost it. See it in your mind before you touch it to the paper. And then as you begin to touch it to the paper, you deliver the line. You correct some of the the edges of the shape. Now, they've asked me, can I go clockwise, counterclockwise? It's a great exercise to test both. So far, all of these have been counterclockwise. So I'm going in this direction, meaning this way. I want to test some going the opposite way. So I ghost it, and then I touch it. And immediately it became more of an oval. So variations of size, variations of curvatures. So now my circles are becoming more ovals. And this eventually becomes an exercise where you could turn it into eggs. Can you actually ghost an egg? Because an egg is sharper at the top, in this case, sharper at the top, wider at the bottom. So I'm going to ghost it, and I'm going to slowly touch it. I could touch and lift, and I could even shift clockwise to counterclockwise to make sure I'm capturing the shape that is in my mind. And that's what I want you to begin to see. You could see it before you actually do it. Visualize it. Can I overlap? Once you begin to run out of room, now the idea would be to fill up this page with 100 circles. But I don't want you to make them spiraled circles, meaning I'm going to go down here doing this kind of stuff that looks unfinished, kind of like more gestural. What I want you to do is find your pace, test yourself. How small can I go? Ghost it, and there's my smallest little circle. I could go smaller than that. Ooh, very hard to go smaller than that because it almost becomes a dot. And how big can I go? And I'm overlapping now. And the more you practice this, eventually your circles will become something like this, where it almost looks like you just passed once because you're going over that same line so confidently that you'll have that look instead of this one that's, a little fluffier, a little furrier, meaning spreader. You want that thinner line. This is what it takes. But everything stems from here. And a lot of curve lines. So now I'm ghosting, and I'm, again, paying attention to shoulder, elbow, wrist, finger movement. And you could create beautiful compositions. Now, the other thing is, if you're, like I am, leaning your hand on the paper, this is going to happen. So the way you deliver your lines as well, you want to maybe work from top to bottom. That way you're working over blank paper as you work your way down, and you never rub any of the graphite that you already put on the pencil. So that's another part of it. For this one, I want you to go all the way to the tip of your pencil. Test how far and how light can I ghost these, and how much control can I gain. And there it is. It loses a little bit of shape on one side. Then I want to make sure, can I counter the direction to correct parts of the shape and make those circles just so natural. But avoid, like I said, that hasty, fast pace that becomes kind of unclosed. Pressure and pace. But here also, the way you visualize it before you deliver it, that's part of the exercise, big part of the exercise. Maybe you just want to begin to fill gaps. So you visualize the space that was right here. So here, this empty space, and I just want to visualize it, ghost it, and then fill it in. And then now I have a new space. As they get smaller and smaller, I just fill them in with circles. And they get smaller and smaller. And all of a sudden you begin to have this beautiful composition actually of circles. If you rather have them overlap and create nice composition of almost bubbles or foam in the ocean kind of thing, it immediately starts becoming something else. That is, for those who don't know it yet, creativity. You are letting your creativity take over. Because how you made the decision to put that circle there, and why is it that big, not smaller? And what about the combination of those circles? How are you making those decisions? In a way, it's intuition. But that is how you develop your voice. And look, it actually can become a beautiful, not necessarily abstract, but an amazing composition. And we haven't even, well, we won't, but bring up the subject of color. Imagine something like this in color. At some point, you feel like you don't even have to ghost anymore. You could see it and then just deliver it. And that only comes through practice. And I now find it so, I'm finding it very soothing to want to fill up all these little spaces, and I love the way it looks. So I might do something with this for a project. And there we go.